Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever opened your mouth to speak English and then stopped yourself, not because you didn't know the words, but because something inside said, "Don't"? You felt your throat tighten, your heart beat faster, and you told yourself, "Next time," but next time never came. You see, most people think they're afraid of English, but they're not. They're afraid of something much deeper, the sound of their own voice, in a new identity. That's not a language issue, that's a life issue. In this video, I'm not just going to teach you how to speak better English. I'm going to show you why your mouth freezes, how your fear is connected to childhood shame, social survival, and a voice you've been hiding for years. And then I'll show you exactly how to break that pattern. This is not just a speaking lesson, it's emotional training, psychological rewiring, a full system to train your English voice like a muscle and turn it into the first act of courage in your new life. You won't just learn English, you'll learn how to reclaim your voice. So if you're ready to stop being afraid to speak and start using English as your tool for confidence, freedom, and transformation, don't look away. Stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to discover might change everything. He sat in his room, headphones on, eyes closed, trying to repeat one sentence. "I believe I can learn." But the words didn't sound like him. They floated out awkwardly, strange, like hearing a stranger's voice inside his throat. That moment, it wasn't fear of English. It was the fear of what his voice sounded like when he stopped being who he used to be. That voice, it was too raw, too unfamiliar, too real. Most people think their accent is the problem, that their pronunciation isn't perfect. But the truth, it's not the accent, it's the discomfort of suddenly meeting another version of yourself. You speak English, and you hear someone who is not you, not yet, and your brain panics. That voice feels fake, weak, broken, because it's still being born. But here's what no one tells you. All growth sounds awkward at first. There's a deep split inside, your mother tongue identity and the new version struggling to breathe in English. It's like trying to wear two skins at once. One skin wants to stay safe, quiet, invisible. The other wants to speak, to live, to be seen. This conflict, it's not failure, it's identity evolution. And evolution by nature always begins with friction. Think of it like this. Your brain is still wired for your old identity. It remembers childhood classrooms, embarrassing mistakes, being laughed at for saying one word wrong. So when you speak English, those old ghosts wake up. Your brain replays those judgment tapes on loop. You sound stupid. That's wrong. They're laughing. But that's not your voice. That's your past. What if, just once, you didn't delete the voice message you recorded in English? What if you kept it, even if it sounded weird? Start small. Record 10 seconds of your English voice. Don't delete it. Just listen. Not to criticize, but to observe. Say something like, "I am learning. I am allowed to sound new." That's not just practice. That's identity work. Because maybe, just maybe, it's not about sounding perfect. Maybe it's about giving yourself permission to exist in a new sound. You're not lacking pronunciation. You're lacking permission. The permission to be a beginner, to be awkward, to speak without shrinking. Say one sentence in English today, louder than usual. Feel your body respond. That's not just language, that's power. Most learners never realize this. The moment you speak English, you're also stepping into a new emotional identity. You're saying, "I can be someone who lives beyond borders." That's why it feels scary. That's why your voice shakes. It's not because your English is bad. It's because you're shedding a layer of self. You're building someone new, one word at a time. And that's where it begins, in the exact moment you feel most uncomfortable with your own voice. Because hidden in that moment is a door, a passage to courage. And just when you think you're going to give up, you realize this isn't just about English. It's about who you're becoming. And the real question is, what happens when the voice you've been hiding starts to speak? Most people think they're afraid of English, but from a psychological view, that's not quite true. You're not afraid of grammar or vocabulary. You're afraid of what happens when you're seen speaking badly. Your brain links public speaking in English with social danger. In ancient times, being rejected by the tribe meant death. And guess what? That part of your brain never evolved. You may already know this. When you open your mouth to speak English, your heart races, your hands get cold, you start sweating. That's not bad English, that's a biological response. Your amygdala triggering a fight or flight reaction. It's trying to protect you. But it's using a rule that no longer applies. If they judge you, you'll be abandoned. There's a concept called the spotlight illusion. It means your brain tricks you into believing everyone is watching and judging you. But the truth? Most people are too focused on their own insecurities to care about yours. The judgment you fear often doesn't exist. Try this. Remember one moment today where you felt judged. Was it real or just your imagination? Another mechanism at play is called rejection prediction. Your brain tries to predict humiliation before it happens, to save you from it. But it predicts badly. It uses past wounds as evidence. Maybe a teacher once corrected your pronunciation in front of the class. Maybe someone laughed once. Your brain remembers, so it screams, "Don't do that again." But here's what changes everything. Fear of rejection is just outdated data. It's like using old software on a new device. It no longer serves you. When you relabel the fear, not as truth, but as false prediction, it loses power. Say to yourself, this fear is not real. It's just my brain trying to protect me with the wrong strategy. Now let's get practical. Speak to an empty room for 60 seconds today, not for practice, but to show your nervous system that speaking English does not lead to attack or death. Stand there. Say anything. My name is, I'm learning, I'm nervous, but I'm here. That's 60 seconds. That's social reprogramming. Because confidence is not built by positive thinking. It's built by small exposures that retrain your survival brain. You have to teach your body that visibility is not vulnerability, that being heard is not a threat, and that your voice has a right to exist, even if it's imperfect, even if it shakes, even if someone laughs. And when shame echoes from your past, try to silence your mouth. Speak anyway. Speak through the fear. Speak through the discomfort. Say a sentence in English, even while feeling ashamed. Why? Because that's the only way the fear loses its power. Not when you feel safe, but when you speak anyway. And what happens next? That might surprise you. For 7 years he carried English inside him like a secret. He listened to podcasts, watched movies, understood almost everything. But when it came time to speak, silence. Not because he didn't know the words, but because speaking made the fear real. And so his fluency lived only in his mind, invisible, untested. In his daily life, he walked with this quiet fluency like a ghost. He translated every conversation in his head, but his mouth never joined the dance. He knew how to say, "How are you? I'm fine. I understand," but only in his thoughts. To others, he was silent, shy, not good at English, they assumed. But inside, he was fluent, just afraid. Then one day, something happened. He walked into a small cafe in a foreign city, exhausted, hungry, alone. The cashier looked at him. "Yes?" she asked. He froze. For a moment, the words disappeared. Then, almost by accident, he said, "Coffee. 1, please." It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even grammatically correct. But it was alive. He expected embarrassment, confusion, laughter. But none of that came. The woman smiled. "Sure, 1 coffee," she replied. And in that exact moment, something collapsed inside him. Not his confidence, his fear, because nothing bad happened. The disaster he had rehearsed in his mind for years never came. And that moment changed him. He realized the enemy wasn't English. It was his imagination. That sentence, "Coffee 1, please," became his first proof. Proof that he could survive mistakes, that the world didn't end when he spoke. He went home and made a decision. Once a week he would create one forced speaking moment, even if his voice shook, even if it was just 1 line. So he started small, asking strangers for directions in English, ordering food out loud, saying thank you with eye contact. These weren't language exercises, they were emotional rewirings. He trained his courage, not just his grammar, and each tiny act reminded him, I am becoming someone new. Soon, the voice that once whispered, stay silent, was replaced by another one, a stronger one, a voice that said, speak, even if you tremble. He began saying one sentence aloud each morning, a survival sentence, something like, I can ask for help. I can order a taxi. I can start a conversation. It became his ritual, and slowly, he changed. Not just his fluency, his posture, his presence, his identity, because fluency doesn't begin when you know all the words. It begins the moment you use one imperfect sentence and survive it. And if he could break free from 7 years of silence with just 3 words, then maybe you can too. Have you ever noticed that the same hesitation you feel when speaking English is the same hesitation you feel when asking for what you truly want in life? It's not just about language, it's about expression, about self-worth. When your mouth goes quiet, it's not because you lack vocabulary, it's because part of you is still waiting for permission to exist. The truth is, English becomes a mirror, and what it reflects is your relationship with power. You hesitate in English because deep down, you hesitate in everything, in asking for help, in setting boundaries, in telling someone how you really feel. Your silence in English is just one example of a deeper silence within, one that's been there for years. So here's the practice. Ask for something small in English today, not just as language training, but as self-training. Ask someone to repeat a word. Ask for directions. Ask for a glass of water. The goal isn't fluency. The goal is courage, because the moment you ask, you start to wake up a part of you that's been asleep. Science backs this up. When you speak English assertively, you activate the same neural circuits used for self-protection, decision-making, and identity. So every time you say something out loud, especially when you're nervous, you're not just practicing speech. You're training your inner strength. You're building emotional muscle. Try this. State one preference out loud today in English. For example, I prefer tea. I don't like loud music. I need more time. Simple phrases but powerful actions, because in that moment you are choosing to express instead of suppress. And with every small declaration, you rewrite your inner story. And then comes the real transformation, the liberation of your voice. One day you say something honest in English, and you surprise yourself. You say, I feel tired, or I'm trying my best, or I need help. And suddenly, the words don't feel foreign anymore. They feel like you, the you that has always wanted to speak. That's when you realize English isn't just a skill, it's a doorway, a bridge to the version of you who says what they mean, who asks for what they need, who lives without apology. Try this. Describe your dream life in 2 English sentences. For example, I want to work freely. I want to live without fear. Say it slowly, clearly. Believe it, because the life you want, it begins with a voice you've been afraid to use. But that voice is still inside you, waiting. And every time you speak, even imperfectly, you're not just learning English. You're becoming the person who finally speaks for themselves. And as that voice grows louder, something else starts to shift too. Watch closely. There's a moment just before someone speaks English where time slows down. Their mouth opens, but nothing comes out. They look down, their breath shortens, and then silence. Again. That pause, that uncomfortable space. It's only about 90 seconds long, but it decides everything. These first 90 seconds are where most confidence dies. Why? Because your brain hasn't had time to warm up. It panics. It floods your body with cortisol, the stress hormone, and your muscles tighten. Your voice disappears not because you're weak, but because your nervous system was ambushed. That hesitation gap becomes a prison. Here's the practice. Start speaking before the fear finishes its sentence. Don't wait to feel ready. because that moment never arrives. Just say one line. Okay, I'm going to speak now, even if it's messy, even if it's wrong, because those first 90 seconds, they're not about English, they're about momentum. Your physiology matters more than your grammar in those moments. Studies show cortisol peaks right before a performance, not during, meaning the fear you feel before speaking is actually the highest point. Once you speak, your stress chemicals drop. So what do? Beat the body, speak first, feel better after. But here's what most learners don't realize. Your mouth is stuck because silence has become your habit. You're used to not speaking. It feels safer, familiar, comfortable. But comfort is a liar. It whispers, stay quiet, and you won't fail. But silence itself becomes failure, repeated daily. You must break the silence every single day. No exceptions. A 1-minute speaking ritual. That's your new standard. Stand in front of a mirror, choose one sentence, and say it 10 times. Something like, I'm learning to speak. I can do this. Mistakes are okay. Make your voice move. Make your fear wait. Because comfort, it collapses growth. Every day you stay silent, it becomes easier to keep hiding. Until one day, years pass, and you still say, I understand everything, but I can't speak. That's not just language delay. That's emotional freezing. And the only way to melt it? Speak. Even just for 90 seconds. That short window, the one you usually avoid, holds your transformation. It's not about being fluent, it's about being brave in that moment. Because if you can win the first 90 seconds, the rest flows naturally. And the next time you feel silence creeping in, remember confidence is hiding right behind your first shaky sentence. Imagine going to the gym, lifting one dumbbell and saying, why am I not strong yet? Sounds silly, right? But that's exactly how most people approach English speaking. They say one sentence, it sounds awkward, and they quit. Not because they're weak, but because no one ever told them. Your voice is a muscle, not a report card. You're not supposed to sound fluent on day one. You're supposed to sound clumsy. Just like muscles grow through micro tears, your English grows through micro failures. Every mistake, every awkward pause is part of the process. In fact, if you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing your voice hard enough. So here's a challenge. Mispronounce one word on purpose, then correct it gently. Let's say you say, I'm going to the market. Pause. Smile, then say it again, I'm going to the market. That tiny loop. Mistake, awareness, correction. That's how fluency is born. Not through perfection, but through repetition, under pressure. Muscles need tension to grow. And your English voice? It needs the same. Neuroscience proves this. When you repeat a movement, the motor cortex in your brain strengthens that pathway. That's how walking became natural. That's how writing became automatic. And that's exactly how English becomes fluent, by speaking the same sentence 30 times across your day. Try it. Today is a good day to speak. Whisper it in the morning, say it in traffic, repeat it before sleep. But here's the secret. Clarity creates confidence faster than correctness. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be clear. Speak slowly with strength. I am learning every day. Feel each word. Feel your mouth shaping the sound. The slower you go, the more your brain wires fluency into muscle memory. There's also the breath-voice connection. When you feel fear, your breath shortens, and so does your voice. That's why people go blank. So train it. Breathe in for 4 seconds, then speak one full sentence without stopping. Example, I am speaking with calm and focus. Your breath is your fuel. Use it. Don't treat English like a final exam. Treat it like physical therapy. You're rebuilding the movement of your voice. You're reactivating muscles that were never trained in your native language. And no, you don't need hours. Just focused daily reps. Shadow a sentence 10 times. Mirror speak for 2 minutes. Train your rhythm like a boxer warms up before a fight. Because once your voice is trained like a muscle, you don't try to speak anymore. You just speak, naturally, easily, without fear. And that's when everything shifts, not just in English, but in life. And it all starts the moment you stop testing yourself and start training like a warrior. There's a quiet prison that most English learners live in, and it's built from one silent rule. If I can't speak perfectly, I won't speak at all. But who gave you that rule? Who said every sentence must be flawless? That's not learning, that's performance anxiety, and it's killing your growth. It's time to replace that sentence with a new one. I can speak imperfectly. This sentence changes everything. It removes the pressure. It gives you air. It's like telling your brain, you're allowed to show up, even if you stutter, even if you forget, even if you pause. Fear doesn't survive in permission. It only survives in punishment. Try this. Speak one sentence right now with permission to mess up. Let go of perfection. Say, I went to the, store and, bought some milk. Did you survive? Good. You're still here. Nothing exploded. No one arrested you for grammar mistakes. The truth is, people don't judge you for being imperfect. They judge you more when you don't even try. So try. Badly, bravely. Here's something surprising. Studies show that lowering expectations can increase performance. When your goal is to say 5 words, not 50, you succeed more. Why? Because your brain relaxes. Confidence grows when you achieve small wins. So today, your minimum goal, say 5 English words out loud. That's it. 5 words, victory. Now take the core sentence. I can speak imperfectly, and make it your anchor. Say it before every practice session. Say it when fear rises. Say it out loud until your nervous system calms down. It sounds simple, but neurologically you're retraining your fear loop. You're proving that speaking doesn't equal danger, it equals freedom. Language fluency is not built by being confident first. It's the other way around. Confidence doesn't create speaking. Speaking creates confidence. Even if you feel small, even if you feel clumsy, you must open your mouth first. The brain follows the body. The courage is in the doing, not the waiting. Create a ritual. Start each day by saying, today I give myself permission to speak badly. That's your unlock, that's your armor. Most learners never do this. They say, I'll speak when I'm ready. But readiness never comes, because it's not a feeling, it's a decision. And once you give yourself permission, everything begins. So try it now, right now. Say, I can speak imperfectly. Say it again, louder, again, with feeling. That one sentence, it breaks the glass. It opens the cage. And as your voice rises, the old fear begins to fade, making space for something new to enter. It doesn't look like much, a quiet room, a mirror, a single sentence spoken out loud. But inside that moment, something sacred happens. You're not just saying words. You're declaring existence. You're taking space in a world where you once stayed silent. And that is courage, because courage doesn't always look like action movies or big speeches. Sometimes it's just this. Your mouth moves before your fear makes a decision. You speak before the doubt gets louder. That's how change begins, not with confidence, but with motion. Your voice becomes the first part of you that says, I want to live differently. There is energy in your voice, real, physical vibration. When you speak, your sound moves through your body, through your chest, your bones, your jaw. And with every sentence, that vibration rewrites your self-image. It says, I am not invisible, I am not broken, I am not too late. Say one promise out loud today, in English. Something simple like, I will keep going. One sentence, one ripple. That's all it takes, because when you speak differently, you think differently. When you speak your goals, your emotions, your ideas, even in broken English, your brain starts to register you as someone becoming. One sentence spoken at the right time can change a day, a relationship, a future. Here's your task this week. Speak one sentence in English at an unexpected moment. Maybe at the bus stop, maybe while ordering food, maybe when your instinct says, just stay quiet. Interrupt the pattern, break the script, surprise yourself, because that one sentence may echo longer than you think, and one day something irreversible happens. You hear yourself say something bold, loud, honest, fluent or not, it lands. You pause, and for the first time, you feel proud of your sound. And in that moment, something inside you whispers, there's no going back. You've heard your real voice now, and you can't unhear it. That's the turning point. That's when your English voice is no longer just a language tool. It's your emotional engine. It pushes you to apply for that job, to ask that question, to send that message. You stop shrinking, you stop hiding, because now speaking isn't something you try, it's something you own. Start a spoken diary, just 30 seconds a day. Record your thoughts, your goals, your questions in English. Don't delete it, don't judge it. Just collect your voice one day at a time, because your voice is becoming your new home. And in that home, you are finally safe, finally seen, finally alive. Now that you've heard the full journey, I want you to pause and ask yourself one powerful question. Whose voice have I been using all these years? Was it yours, free, alive, courageous? Or was it the version shaped by fear, silence, and old beliefs? You've learned something deeper than English today. You've learned that your voice is more than sound, it's identity. And every time you speak, especially when it's imperfect, you're choosing to grow instead of hide. You're choosing to live, not just exist. So don't wait for permission. You already have it. Start your 90-second ritual. Speak your 5 words. Say your one honest sentence out loud. Because fluency is not a finish line. It's a daily decision to stop being silent. And the more you speak, the more you become the person you were meant to be, in English and in life. If this video spoke to something deep inside you, then let your voice continue this journey. Leave a comment right now. What sentence are you afraid to say in English, but ready to say today? And share it with the world. You never know who you might inspire. Subscribe if you want more than just English tips. Subscribe if you want transformation. Turn on the bell so you never miss a step in this journey. And if this video helped you even 1%, give it a like so others can find it too. You're not just learning English. You're learning how to speak your life into existence. And I'll be right here with you, one voice at a time.